What's up? I know we're live, everybody.
Yo.
We're live. Hey, you're going to have to live without the bounce music this morning. Good morning, everybody. We are at We're not a troublemaker. My brain, for those of you in the live stream of the podcast.
This is the troublemaker edition.
This is the troublemaker edition of the it is the automotive troublemaker.
Yeah, right there. Look at that right there.
Look, we have been pushing through these last 36 hours like a bunch of champs, and I'm talking about the whole crew that is here at ASOTUCON.
Push.
So let's get some applause in the back. Thank you so much for
Appreciate
that.
the applause.
The whole room. Shout out to the crew, because let me tell you, the crew has been here late and has been here early every single day.
Showing up.
It's been dark when people be showing up. It's been dark when we're leaving.
This morning, I think everyone rolled in and looked at each other and was like, I see you.
Yeah.
I see you.
And then Lundy's like bouncing through the halls like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Doing, doing, doing,
you guys
doing.
don't do this every day?
Doing,
Right.
doing, doing,
Yes.
doing. So if you're just listening on the podcast, that voice that you heard is a familiar voice. It is the one and only Darren Doane is joining us on stage at ASOTUCON.
Great to be here. Great to be here.
He's got his coffee. He's on West Coast time, so it's like really early for him.
It's 1 a.m. for him. I do that math wrong every time. I just back it up even further just to make sure.
It's always great when there's someone from like Central Time you're doing business with, and there's like three text messages. So that's 1 p.m. your time? Like,
Yeah.
what? You know.
Well, I love we'll have you got an Eastern time zone with Paul. I'm on Central,
right.
and then Darren's on West. And we're like,
need
what
someone
time
in
are we calling each other?
We need somebody at Mountain Time just to round it out.
That'll mess everyone
I'm excited. I got twice the sleep last night I got the night before. So I feel pretty good.
I did. There was one green bar thing on my sleep, tracker. It was great. I was like, oh, I won.
I won. I showed my wife my little sleep tracker last night before I went to bed. I was like, that's not good. It was like 12%. It was like, you've gotten 12% of the sleep you've needed in the last 24 hours. But the reason is worth it, because we are here with hundreds of our brethren. And Darren, maybe we'll talk about a little like Tribe Nation Empire in a minute.
Yeah.
And we're here with people that believe in the same things, and over and over and over. What's keeping me going is the energy around this desire to collaborate, this desire to have conversations that aren't being had in retail automotive. And this is really, I think, like the incendiary mechanism, this meeting, these people here, that is going to spark the next explosion of what you're doing.
Well, it's crazy because we've been talking internally with Team ASOTU, saying, hey, for our team, for the content that we have, for the way that we're communicating, it's a slingshot. But I was realizing this morning, this is also an opportunity for the industry to kind of slingshot. Like, you think about the people that are involved in the content these last couple days, and the energy around that could provide a slingshot, not just for ASOTU, but for the industry, because everybody's looking and talking and communicating and going, oh, we can have that conversation more often. You know, we're at this crazy concert last night, and someone's pulling me aside and they're like, no, you don't understand. I've been to these for 20 years. I've heard things said that nobody's been willing to say at a conference. And that for me, that breaks the barrier of, we can't say this, we can't do this, we can't have this conversation for everything. For Clubhouse rooms, for LinkedIn Lives, for LinkedIn posts, for the next conference. And so breaking that barrier is a change mechanism.
There's something about breaking it in person, right? Because people say, I don't know if you've noticed this, Darren, but people say things on the internet that they don't actually intend to follow through on.
Hold on.
Did you notice that?
What?
Guys.
So the fact that we're saying these things in person, eye to eye, face to face, in the side stages with 100, 200 people packed in there, literally it's like a restaurant. Literally the side stages are restaurants. So when people are in there face to face, it's like almost like you're having a conversation over dinner, minus the dinner. but there's like a palpability to it when you say it in person.
There's also a sense of, it's early, so I'm not even trying to be funny or witty, but there is.
Gonna be.
So I actually mean this. You know, being in the rooms on the breakout sessions, there's almost a sense of like, counseling or therapy going on as well.
Yeah.
You know, really, just because it's not a breakout per se. I was saying yesterday, you know, you addressed the room before the talk yesterday, and you were straight up like, here's not the dumb question you're going to answer. I mean, you're not going to ask. Don't raise your hand and tell me about your dealership for 5 minutes and then ask a question that has nothing to do with what everyone just talked about. And I was watching that, and I think that could have just been like, you could just kind of go, oh, okay, he said that. But no, but what you were saying was you were reshaping the entire narrative of how that room and what the expectations were of the people in that room. And you were saying, this is how we're going to do it here. And I thought just that little moment, you know, those are the things that I'm looking for when I go anywhere, is who's actually shaping culture, who's actually setting the narrative, because, you know, someone is leading everywhere. Right now I'm leading, and you both have shut your mouth because I'm talking, right? And then I'm going to shut my mouth, and I'm going to hear you, and then you're going to lead or you're going to lead. So leadership is always happening, right? Yeah. There's authority being taken. It doesn't just sit neutral waiting, right? It's always flowing to someone who's taking that authority.
Right, somebody always has it.
Absolutely. There's no neutrality in any way, shape, or form anywhere on this planet. At any moment, someone has the authority. And we all know that. That's why it gets crazy in the world when we don't know, right? When
there's no set authority. That's when anarchy happens, because everybody attempts to take.
Absolutely.
Right.
So good leadership I'm asking the people who are in charge, how's it been?
How are they leading is what you're saying.
How are they leading, right? And then how is that affecting you? And so you walked into that room, and then I watched everyone kind of sit up, and then and then they were actually listening now, and they were going to ask kind of question. And I think the first question that came, it almost shifted, and I saw the dude kind of catch himself like, okay, wait.
Yeah.
Right? You see that? Yeah, like, okay, wait, I need to make sure and that's the kind of stuff that I'm seeing here. Back to your observation, this isn't a conference. You know, I don't know what it is, but it's not a conference, because historically conferences have become a place, it's just an excuse. Conferences become an excuse to get to the bar. You guys have said, we're going to start at the bar. You've inverted.
The crew is excited about that last
my man. Well, no, because that's what it is, right? The real talk is at the bar.
Right.
You know, I've been saying this for years, right? Like, that's what I love about social media, is you don't have to get to the event, conferences, national, and then when you do get there, we got to get the bar, we got to get a couple drinks in us, and then we're going to loosen up and have real talk.
Their excuses, right? Going to conferences, they can become so automatic that it almost becomes like a facade that you're doing something. You're like going to a conference is proving to yourself that you're trying.
I got this conference I got to go to.
And you go, right? And you get the badge, and everyone else sees that you went, right? Oh, they must be working. But the reality is, most people walk away from a conference, quote unquote, and they go back and nothing changes.
Dinner was good.
Yeah, it was dinner good. I heard this really great session on digital marketing. Okay, what did you change? I don't really even remember what they said, but it was good, right? Where's your ROI? Aside from
I think what we've talked about in especially in the auto industry, the smaller the conference, the more opportunity you have to get more impactful. And we're right now, I think, from like just in attendance, it's important to talk about that, because we're kind of in between that, right? We're not a very, very small conference, but we're also not NADA, right? And so striking that balance is really important toward action and insight and actual conversation. It was interesting yesterday, you said after the main stage keynote, you were like, I think shots were fired.
Yeah,
right?
Shots fired for sure.
Shots fired. And then I'm in the next thing, and I kind of like, there was this moment because Mike Colaccio gets up and Dan Moore and Andy Wright, all three of them, I'm kind of looking around like, is anyone going to kick us out at this point, right?
One of the mics coming, one of the black hats walking in. Well, the black hats were already on the stage.
And then I'm guessing that happened throughout the whole thing, because every place that I was in, I was like, these people are saying a thing.
Yeah,
you know?
No doubt, because you and I didn't get to spend any time in any of the rooms together. High fives on the way, right? That's how we can manage being in two places at once, right? And so, but in every room I was in, people were making trouble. Things were being said from the stage that, like, yo, maybe you could get away with saying it on a clubhouse room that disappears into the internet, right? But you just said it to 100 other people face to face.
And we recorded it.
Oh yeah, and we're gonna play it.
Yeah, but what that does is it's the same thing that I said earlier. Is it breaks the barrier of not being able to say that. And so what it does is then the next room, right? You said you started at the bar. Well, now it's like the next thing can match or go over that. You gave access to the next speaker in the next room, in the next conversation.
Right.
At lunch, you made the conversation. Yeah.
And that's why, I mean, you kind of see the reverse of it happening in culture right now, where aggressive speech is becoming normalized, right? When back in the day, right, like a public insult was a major thing. You publicly insult somebody, like we're literally dueling to the death over it.
Right.
Right, because it's a thing of my honor. And then little by little, it gets chipped away. And now 80% of the internet is public insulting, right? And the bar of public insulting just keeps getting higher. The same thing is, I think, true for the good stuff, right? The same thing is true for saying, hey, like, we need to normalize real talk. Not real talk to cut you down, but real talk to fix the problem, right? And that's kind of what I see, our real talk, right? Because people can say, oh, shots fired,
Right.
Meaning saying, like, we're speaking the truth, and sometimes the truth these days, right, gets canceled. You can't say it. You can't have a dissenting opinion. But what I love about, I think, what the culture, like your shirt that you're wearing, that's kind of the mantra of this concert, love people more than you love cars. That doesn't just go for a consumer so someone will give us money. That talked about competitors, and that talks about OEM dealer partnerships. If we can think about the person on the other side and say, we're going to speak the truth in love, we're going to speak the truth because we know we need each other. In that room, we were talking about the broken relationship between OEMs and dealers, and everyone is just like when a divorce happens, imagining the other person at their worst, right? We were like, well, what would a letter look like if we could say dear and write the same letter and it was dear dealer or dear OEM, right? We've done some really great things in this country together. We've done this and this and this, right? We lost our way a little bit. We both got scared that these other competitors are going to come in, so we're both trying to fix it on our own. But we realize we really need each other again.
Has anyone asked you guys why you're doing this?
Sometimes, you know.
What do you say? What do you say when someone says, "What are you doing? Why are you doing this? You guys don't have dealerships that I know of,
Right.
Why are you guys doing this?"
Well, we believe retail automotive is the fastest and most pervasive way to affect the most amount of people and serve the most amount of people in the United States.
This is what's crazy to us is you have an individualized neural network in the United States that impacts every community and brings freedom to every single person.
Literally every single person is touched by somebody in
by
this
auto.
industry.
Like,
directly. Not
I
like
never go to McDonald's, but I drive a car every day, right? And every single one of the operators in those stores, or the owners in those stores, or the general managers have a level of have a capacity to be passionate about the people in their community. We actually, what's interesting is if we automotive, and then perception of automotive, where automotive meets pop culture. Automotive actually has the ability to impact every type of business and every type of relationship in the country because of the way that it does business. So it's actually bigger than just like getting automotive good. If for us, it's like it's a narrative of this has an impact on broader culture that if automotive gets it right, everybody gets to see.
And the decentralized nature of it, as much as it might seem centralized within the brand, like Ford or Honda or Subaru, it's decentralized because imagine if for a second a car.
That's what I'm learning by the way. So I'm curious even more what you're going to say here, because that's what's fascinated me being around this industry the last couple years with you guys, is that decentralization. Every single dealership really is its own fill in the blank, and we'll talk about this tribe, nation, or empire. They're running on their own constitution.
Yeah, they are, and they have more freedom than any other franchise business. And imagine for a second, Carvana acquired every used car in the country and every franchise dealer OEM. There was one person that distributed the cars. We all know what would happen. It would start to suck really bad, that the customer would lose in the end. The communities would lose in the end, because efficiency and consolidation of power would mean we're no longer caring about the third, fourth, fifth levels to the end consumer through the whole chain of concept to manufacturing to distribution to retailing. The whole chain, if it's owned by one vertical, it's going to not serve the person at the bottom, which is the reason that capitalism works, right? Because it's like a mini capitalistic, right? And there are good and bad parts about that. I'm not even going to argue about that right now. But the fact that it's decentralized, if one person owned it all, I would argue that society would suffer at large if the automotive industry was consolidated into one efficient buying process, because that never works for any product or any service.
Yeah, we, in the town I live in, I work with John Sacco at Sierra, and he, the last couple of years,
Explain what Sierra does for a minute.
Sierra is one of the largest manufacturers of balers. So at recycling facilities, everything is baled into those rectangles, right? So whether it's aluminum or iron, copper wire, you don't just stick it in the back of, an end dump and ship it somewhere. You're compressing thousands of pounds, right, into those cubes, and that's how you efficiently move. Much like in this industry, everything's moving. It's weight, it's time, all that.
So huge money, huge business.
Big money.
Big things.
Big things. And he's in the recycling industry. Over the last couple of years, he's had to keep refining that because of really honing in what he's doing. Then it was like, well, okay, it's the for-profit recycling industry, not the recycling industry. It's the for-profit recycling industry is what keeps this country going. Because as soon as it's all just government run, city contract run, his argument is like, no, you need the motivation, the for-profit recycling industry. You need the motivation.
You need the check and balance of profit.
You need that. And then to his point, after all these years, over a decade working with him, before I left on this trip, we get not an email, we get a post on the city's social media waste. They said, we're not picking up the trash, sorry. We don't have anyone. No one showed up. Now that's if that was for profit, I guarantee you.
Someone's picking up the trash.
Someone's picking that up.
The owner's picking up the trash
and
if he has to.
So I don't think we've even picked up yet, so I'm curious to go back and see. Now, I'm in a more rural area. We're like, well, we'll start burning. It's not going to, but it was like, actually not this time of year. It's not good. But that was like, wait, what do you mean the trash isn't going to get picked up, right? But then when they did their follow-up, they said, yeah, sorry, no one came in to work, and so we can't get these trucks to bring it from Idaho to Oregon where there's, a landfill, all that. The for-profit fill-in-the-blank industries, your chances are a lot higher that's never going to happen.
So to pull that back, we think that making a positive impact and serving everyone in every community is at the essence of kind of what Kyle and I want to do with our lives. You back that in, you see automotive as a mechanism to do that. By the way, we both fell in love with the industry.
I was going to say,
right?
It's not,
absolutely. We love the industry.
You guys didn't go to a guidance counselor and someone said, you guys would be good at the auto industry.
I don't think those words have ever been uttered from a guidance counselor's mouth.
Ever.
We're working to change that, actually.
They should.
We are working to change that. So guidance counselor,
because
automotive industry
You've
professional.
sold cars.
Yeah. He has 12 years.
You've sold a car.
Absolutely.
Have you ever
Lots
sold a car?
Not in a dealership.
Okay, I had to say it, right. But you love cars.
No, I've written service in a dealer. I was a service writer.
Yeah,
So I
okay.
worked on the fixed op sides for less than a year.
Right. And
I grew up, I could care less about cars.
Yeah, same here. Same here.
yeah.
So it wasn't about cars. For me, actually, when I started selling cars, I couldn't drive a manual transmission. I couldn't tell you what a CVT transmission was, and I probably couldn't tell you how anything operated under the vehicle that wasn't a technical item. But I knew that if I cared for people, took the time to listen to them and walk them through the situation, that a purchase would happen, because the car was just the mechanism for conversation.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's what propelled me and still propels me to this day.
Yeah, so we love the industry. And we began to meet many, many more dealers and industry partners that were the flip, the opposite of the stigma that you hear, like the bullhorn that you hear about dealers want to screw people over. Some of the most caring, compassionate, giving, generous, self-sacrificial, entrepreneurial people we know in the world are auto dealers. And we were like, it's not right. The right people are in the right place. And as
we know people our investors, Patrick Abaddon. He left the dealership in Florida, moved to just north of Atlanta, Georgia. 40 people, 40, followed him up there. Uprooted their lives to follow him because he's such a great leader. Not just that, but the local police department uses the dealership to hold meetings. Like, that level of transformation is possible at every dealership in the country.
That goes back to that real estate thing that we've kind of been touching on with dealerships, saying it sounds like some people do know, but dealerships have an opportunity from a community standpoint to do more than just, I think, events here and there. I think they really can be the
center
staple.
point.
Yeah. Oh,
the mayor.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, look, churches used to be in the middle.
Yes.
And that's how they built. And you built a town around a church. We don't have that anymore. Let alone space to do things just in general. And so I think, I think we're going to touch on this in our talk, that's another opportunity. When you walk, the thing I love about walking onto a dealership is it really does feel like they're in charge. And that comes back to authority. When you walk onto a dealership, now that authority can put some people off, like, oh, like I literally just,
if it's leverage for the wrong thing.
right, I literally just got here and someone's walking out.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to find a parking spot and someone's already walking out, like I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the point is when you walk onto a lot, you feel the authority. And they're in charge. How you manage that, I think, is really key, and it has the potential to actually be a place that when you do get there, you feel really, really good.
So you say they're in charge. You really can. When you walk in and someone's like, "Hey, this is how this is going to go," you realize they're in charge. But the higher level of being in charge is you walking in and them saying, "Hey, how are you? How would you like this to go?" Right? They're still in charge, but they've all of a sudden lent you the power, right? And so you feel like, the authority in giving that back to you, right? And it has to do with the space. It has to do with the feeling you have when you step on the lot. And it has to do with the leverage and the influence, really.
And I'm sure people will figure this out. I'm learning that, when I met you guys, I think I had a totally different view of a lot of this stuff, and so it's made me think about industry, how it works, how it operates. It's kind of a double-edged sword. You don't have anybody walk out. You walk onto a lot. Well, I guess I'm imagining, when there actually were cars on lots. I don't mean that as a joke.
Right.
I don't mean that as a joke.
That was the day.
You go to a lot and it was just, it was full. And if no one walked out, it felt weird because you were kind of by yourself on this.
Do they know I'm here?
Right. So that's
Am I
weird.
allowed to be
and then
here?
if they walk out right away, you're like, oh gosh, right?
That's a great point. Too fast or too slow.
Oh, right. You're like this. Oh, so it's. I keep thinking about, wow, this industry in one sense just can't seem to catch a break or win in that. But that said, you get there depending on how that first interaction is. It's key, but it's the way it's structured. There's so much space. There's a lot of things working against you just spatially on a lot, right? And then if you got to go in, it's weird. It's like if you walk in, what do you then have like a lineup of people? Like it's like a car brothel, and you're like him.
A car brothel.
I want.
Right.
I'll take him. He looks nice. I don't know, like so. That I wonder. But you've explained to me, like the dealership you worked at, people are figuring this out.
Absolutely.
Which I think is really, really cool. It's easy just this what you're telling me about stories of like, oh no, they do this, they do this, they do this. So it makes sense that even the people showing up here are so on the cutting edge of culturally serving people. That's why it's great to be here, because I'm meeting people who are already doing that stuff. You know, they don't need to hear my insights on it because they're fixing their own thing. But that's where I think you guys come in. Individually, people are solving these problems. You're bringing those people together. It's almost like you're the troublemakers, but really a next event could be the problem solvers, right? When you think about it, there's leaders who have solved this. That's kind of what you're aggregating when you put these events on is, well, go talk to him, go talk to her. They've solved it. I mean, they're not looking for a guy like me to come in and go, here's how you should run. You know, it's like people have figured this out.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's see. Maybe we can get the music. I don't know. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. I don't know. We're going to see what we get. I don't think it's going to work. Oh, there we go. We got Doane beatboxing. All right, so it's all good. It's all good. Well, thank you for joining us on the podcast this morning. We're going to be back tomorrow with a regular format. You can follow us on Instagram at ASOTUCON if you want to see a lot of what's been going on at this event, especially in the story there. We're documenting it. Also, follow us on LinkedIn. Follow ASOTU on LinkedIn for a lot more of this. Share it with your friends. Thanks for joining us today. Go out there and crush it today and serve somebody.